Okay, so on December 5th, 2023, a Facebook page that is called Future for Leave changes its name to the Centre for Migration Control. 6 days later, the Centre for Migration Control published their first research report. I say they, I mean Robert. Robert, who used to be the head of outreach at Leave Means Leave, which was the group that Future for Leave were considered to be the younger sibling of. It's also a group that was co-chaired by Richard Tice and had the vice chair, Nigel Farage. Report was trash. I'm not comically trash in terms of the actual data that it put out. It's literally a Word document with a cover. It doesn't have any methodology segment or anything that demonstrates the overall sample size. It's literally a Word doc that's been typed up with some word art charts put in. But we can go into this later. On the eve of that report being published, it's shared by Stephen Edginton in an exclusive with the Telegraph. And then it's picked up by The Express, The Sun, GB News, TalkTV, and the Daily Mail. And gang, from there, it just blows up. Nigel is very keen to make sure that Robert is on as a guest to talk about all the issues that would help Nigel get elected from his think tank with his reports. This Robert, the Robert that's been campaigning for Nigel Farage and his initiatives ever since Brexit, since 2017. But he doesn't exist before 2017. He's paid to have all of his data removed from the internet, or he's literally changed his name or something in order to throw his face on the line with bullshit reports for the sake of Nigel Farage. But there's more to it. You know when you're watching a TV show, like a news show, and they bring on an expert to speak on a specific topic? Well, what if the expert that was being used was literally just a Reform Party campaigner with a website? Well, let me talk to you about Robert. Robert Bates is supposedly the research director at a think tank called the Centre for Migration Control. The Centre for Migration Control regularly publish research reports where they talk about how basically everyone who's foreign is awful. And unsurprisingly, whenever these reports are published, GB News, TalkTV, The Telegraph, The Express all pick up on it, and they always cite Robert as an expert, as the research director. It's very proper. Let's quickly just talk a little bit about the data. I think this is my favourite one of his charts. Firstly, they are supposed to have 11 reports on their site. You can click through to read the full report. There have only ever been 3 PDF uploads to the site. You can't access anything else. There's literally, you click on the report, nothing comes up. Now, I haven't talked that much about the data itself because one, Lewis Aaron has done a whole deep dive that he'll be talking about soon, but also this gen on Twitter and quite a few other people have massively debunked all of the 3 reports that they've actually uploaded. I've only got a BA. I'm not an expert when it comes to research, but aside from all of this stuff, which you can easily break down and debunk, it's just badly done research. It's clear from looking at it that it's a 3-page Word document with no formatting, no citations, and no methodology. I think this tweet puts it best in that there are so many flaws in the wild extrapolations and maths being done in every one of this guy's reports that it makes it really hard to actually, you'd have to spend a long time unpacking how wrong the figures are. But I will link to this Twitter profile below and you'll be able to go through for yourself, and I'll also tag Lewis's video when he comes out with it. At first I thought that okay, maybe Nigel's getting him to do these things so that he can find inflammatory figures and then react to them. But they're literally so badly made up that it has to be something where there is a feedback loop of some sort between these two. So I don't know, Nigel says, give us a new report. He says, I don't know how to write anything, and then tries anyway. Then Nigel has one TV show and goes, wow, these figures are terrible. Alongside finding out that it's actually just a trading name for a private company called Athelney Campaigns, which has a racist background. Seeing that the company only has one director and it's just this guy called Robert, it's only been around for a year and a little bit, and I couldn't find anything about anybody else working at this think tank, which I think is basically just Robert's brain. It got me thinking that maybe I could do the same thing, and then I can publish research on a website that doesn't actually work, so when you click onto the report, it just puts you back on the homepage. I thought maybe I could do that as well. Which is why I am now very pleased to announce that I am in fact the research director at the Centre for Control of the Centre for Migration Control. More about that in the video that I'll link below. But my question would be, if I can see that, and I'm not a journalist at something like The Sun or The Express or TalkTV or GB News, and I'm not literally mates with Robert like Nigel is, why can't they see it? Why are they purposefully publishing misleading, inaccurate, bum data that will make people hate people? And on top of that, why are they grabbing these young guys fresh out of uni or fresh out of school to do the dirty work for them? Ladies and gentlemen, meet the mini Hitlers. Before the website changed to like a completely anonymous About Us page, there was one snapshot in May 2024 where they had two people on their team. One of them was Charlie Downs. Charlie Downs is currently 23 years old, though he would have been 22 when he was brought on as the content lead at the Centre for Migration Control. Literally graduated in July 2023, which, like, okay, cool. I guess some of you get international politics degrees and then get jobs right away. But maybe if you're not a right-wing grifter, it doesn't work? I don't know. Why was I working in a pub for 2 years? But honestly, Charlie is everywhere, despite having zero background in anything political, except for doing these things. He's in the Daily Mail. He was on GB News. Here he is on TalkTV. He's just a guy. He's literally just a guy who's been plucked out of university and started doing the right-wing grift, but in a really, really ethno-nationalist way. He's on TikTok as an Anglo-Zoomer, and it's giving like Nick Fuentes, but he's got no experience and he's got no background, but he's just been immediately adopted by these right-wing publications, and more than just the ones that Farage is directly attached to, and immediately been platformed with bogus data that is often not even accessible. Stephen Edginton, the one who posted the first exclusive release of the report, has been in the industry since he was under 20 years old doing right-wing journalism. His LinkedIn feels like a Nightmare Blunt rotation. And again, he's been writing articles with Farage since 2021. So we've got Robert, who was part of the Leave Means Leave campaign and a Brexiteer, who's then gone to form his think tank. We've got Charlie, who has joined his think tank and then immediately got on to Restore Britain, which is like the extreme Christian values Rupert Lowe lobbying thing that's just starting. And then we've got Steve, who has come straight into this world of right-wing media alongside Nigel Farage, working at the Leave Means Leave campaign, who now publishes all the results of the think tank. And then once those things have been published, Nigel and his team invite on Robert to talk about his report. This is what I mean when I say, in some cases, the media isn't just biased, it's actively making up misinformation. These numbers aren't just being interpreted a certain way, they are actively misinforming you. That guy doesn't run a think tank or an organization. He's just a Reform Party campaigner who set up a website and put a Substack on it and a PayPal, and is now being used as a source, an expert source, to drive more of these hateful, violent, horrible conversations. The other question is really for Robert and for Charlie, because if Robert is the founder and research director, and it was only formed last year, and all you've got on the site is a PayPal link to donate to the Centre for Migration Control, who's paying you to do your reports? Because you're not a non-profit, you're a private company. And Robert doesn't have any online presence otherwise that shows that he's worked for anything. Athelney Campaigns hasn't done anything else. So who's paying you? So if I may, get a hobby. Get just any other hobby than this. Okay, bye.